In the United States, there is a lack of organ donors. There are currently 119,362 people on the waiting list to receive an organ and only 15,947 donors. One way to get an organ is through a living donor. So in 2007, Harvey Missel founded the Living Kidney Donor Network to help people get their story out and find a donor.
And I realized that what I was looking for, wasn't out there. Basically, an organization that can help someone through the living donation process. And so I decided to start the nonprofit with the primary mission to help people who need a kidney transplant understand the process.
Harvey now hosts workshops for people to help them learn how to get their story out there and to be heard.
The workshops are 2.5 hours long. And people say they're going to fall asleep on you. And yeah, if I were to talk to them for 2.5 hours, they'd fall asleep. But it isn't like that at all. It's very interactive. Okay. And one of the reasons it's interactive is because I do what I find out is a very important, or feel is a very important part of the workshop, is I do an icebreaker very shortly after saying hello and welcome. I ask people to break out into small groups of 4 or 5. And I ask them to answer a question, really 2 questions, and share their answers with people in the group. And the questions, 2 questions I ask is, where are you in the process? So each individual shares within the group where they're at in the process. Next question is, what's your biggest challenge? And they share their biggest challenge. And for some of these people, it's the first time these words have come out of their mouth. But it's a safe environment. They can look at these individuals, small group, and they realize that they have the same challenges that they're going through. And the things that are keeping them up at night are keeping them up at night. And so we find out that, we're not alone. And then I ask each group to come up with one question that they'd like answered during the workshop. So they now get together and talk a little bit. And they bond. Sometimes I'll let this go 10 or 15 minutes, which is a very long time.
During the time where they are telling their story, he likes to keep the small groups together.
I don't spread them out. So they kind of overhear what the other groups next to them are talking about, and it becomes a safe environment. When I say thanks, let's get back to their seats, it's a totally different point of view as to what is going on. I encourage them to ask questions at any time, stop me. And usually they're in a workshop and they say, wait for the end to give your questions, but it's really important. And so those dumb questions are asked now. That's there. And I do at least one more breakout, possibly 2, but one is a practice session where they practice their elevator speech. Someone says, hey, Jared, how are you? And so you have the floor and you tell them how you are if you're in need of a transplant and give your 30-second elevator speech. And they practice that towards the end of the workshop. And what I find is it's hard to get them to stop talking or to get back to their seats by then, because they're not only sharing that, they want to learn more about other people's experience. So it is a very different environment than what they're used to seeing in a dialysis clinic or a transplant center.
There is an easy way to look at finding a living donor.
Pursuing a living donor is much the same as someone pursuing a new job. The more people you speak to, the more people that, if you're looking for a job, the more people that know your background and know your qualifications, and the more interviews you get, the more likely it's going to be that you'll land a job. So it's a matter of educating people out there, and all the steps are pretty much the same. Educating yourself, researching an industry is researching the options, putting together a resume is writing up your story. Having an elevator speech for one is the same as having an elevator speech for the other. You want to be prepared to tell your story in a simple and concise way so people understand it.
For more information on how you can help or get helped, visit lkdn.org.